This episode is a pick and gut of an old, well-used Ep43. As we pick it, we'll discuss how its age and well-used state affects how it picks. Hey folks, welcome to Pugs Picks Locks. If you're new here, feel free to click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you'll always be notified when I release new content like this. And if you like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, click that like button, and leave a question or a comment down below. Did I get something wrong? Is there something I could do better, do differently? Please let me know. I want to learn from all of you to continue to grow my knowledge and skill set and provide you with better and better content. Also, leave a comment if there's a specific topic that you'd like covered. Okay, let's start with the shout out of the week. This week, the shout out goes to SouthOrd, who currently sits at 471 subscribers at the time of filming. On his channel, SouthOrd does some great picking, but also features lever locks, which I'd love to tackle, and combo lock decoding. He's even gutted some of the combo locks, which really helps in understanding how the decoding methods actually work. Let's get him past that 500 subscriber mark, so follow the link in the description and give him a sub. Let's dive into this week's video. This Abus 8345 is the only one that I have in my collection, and was actually sent to me in a care package a while back from Picksmith. I've picked it up from time to time and gotten frustrated after a couple attempts, and then I put it away again. A couple of days ago, however, the lock pissed me off and I finally had a solid go at picking it. And after probably half an hour or so, I finally got it open. So as you can see, this is a 6-pin lock. The key is a Schlage, however you say it, keyway, and it works nicely. It is not key retaining, and it is a sprung core, although the spring is a little on the weak side and doesn't always return the key. And so let's get this into, we'll need the pinning tray later when we gut it, but let's get this into a vise and have a go at getting it open. So we're going to set up the vise, make sure that you guys have a good view of it. Alright, so we're going to be using top of the keyway tension here, and we're going to be using the Z-wrench, my standard favorite little tensioning tool, and a SouthOrd standard hook. This is a flat-tipped hook, and part of the reason why we're using this instead of the pagoda hook that I tend to favor is because the shaft of the pick is thicker. It has more meat to it, and that means that I can crank on the pins a little bit harder if I need to. I'm barely using any tension. Basically, I'm turning the tensioner until it stops, and then I'm holding it there. And even with that little tension, I still had to crank a little bit on the pin to get it to set. So let me do that again. One of the features or characteristics of older locks is that the pin chambers can be worn and the pins themselves can be worn. This first pin is a serrated pin, but you can see that you don't hear the serrations. You can barely even feel them. You do feel it go past, and you should have heard it go past shear, but it was more of a thunk than a click. And that's because when we gut this lock, you'll see that the chambers themselves, the mouths don't have sharp edges on them. They're becoming rounded off from use. So let's do that pin 1 again. thunk, right? Not a click. And then I'm going to go to the back of the lock and I'm going to touch pin 6, get a little click, and then we fall into a deep false set. And when we got the lock, I'll show you why just touching pin 6 does that. And you'll see me throughout picking this, having to go back and touch pin 6 over and over again. Okay. I'm on pin 2 right now, and you can see the counter rotation. And we fall back into something of a false set. I'm going to go back, I'm going to check pin 6 again, and we fall into the deep false set. I'm going to test pin 1 just to make sure it's where it's supposed to be. Pin 2 is where it's supposed to be. So now let's move on to pin 3. And again, I'm using very light tension. You can see the counter rotation. And there was pin 3. I'm going to go back and I'm going to check pin 1, check pin 2. We lost our false set. I'm going to go back to check pin 6. And there we fall back into that deep false set. So that's pin 1 is set. Pin 2 still feels set. Pin 3 now feels set. And then pin 4 here, same thing, counter rotation. And I'm riding it as slowly as I can. But the core is gritty. And it's moving in kind of jerks instead of a smooth movement. Okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to touch pin 6 again. And I'm getting nothing. So I'm just going to go through, because we lost our false set again. I'm going to go through. So there's pin 1. There's pin 2. Pin 3. Pin 4. Pin 5. Pin 6 feels gritty, but I'm not getting my false set back, so I'm wondering if I overset something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that time I touched 6 and it fell all the way over. So what I think had happened is 4 wasn't completely set. And so when I touched pin 4 again, and then I went through, it might have nudged it the rest of the way in. And so now we have, and then when I touch pin 6, we fall back into this deep false set. So now I'm just going to go through, make sure everything feels set. And that's one of the problems with these older locks, is because the pin chambers are starting to get a little rounded off, etc. It's easy for a pin to just drop just a teeny bit down into the keyway after it's been set. So 2, 3, 4 feels set. So now here's 5. Okay, and again, it doesn't move smoothly with the counter rotation. It's like these little herky-jerky motions. Okay, and that's set. So now I'm going to go to pin 6, and that's binding real hard. There we go. And still binding. Okay, now we're in a very deep false set again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Getting counter rotation off of 5 again. Okay, and now 6. Some counter rotation off of 6. Now we're back in a false set. 5 just gave me another little click. Like I said, they can fall back in just a little bit because the mouth of there, and we're open, because the mouth of the chambers are starting to get rounded off. So let's get this out of the vise and move the vise out of the way for our celebratory swivel. And there we go. We got that picked open. All right, I'm going to close it up, put the key in, and use the key to open it. And then we're going to get that out of the way. We're going to get our pinning tray back in here. Make sure that's visible. Okay, and we need a screwdriver. It's just a Phillips head, and there we go. Let's pull the core out. Okay, so we'll set the hull right there. We don't need the screwdriver at the moment. I'm going to lock it up while I get the circlip off. So, how are we going to... Okay. The reason why I lock it up and then pull the key out one pin position is so that the core isn't turning as I'm trying to manipulate the circlip. The plug isn't turning inside the core well. All right, so there's the circlip. And then I'm going to remove the tail piece because it's going to fall out by itself anyways. And here's an interesting thing about these 83s, these 83 series. You can, after you remove the circlip, the plug is still being retained by this retaining pin here, which is spring-loaded. So I don't know if you could see that. I'll do that with the pick so that you can... It's spring-loaded. So you have to push that down in order for the plug to come out. Part of the reason, and the other purpose that retaining pin serves is it prevents you from turning it past roughly almost 90 degrees or so. Almost 90 degrees. Because if you turn it too far, you can have pins fall out the bottom here. Or you can have the key pins fall into the keyway if you don't have a key blocking that keyway. Another interesting feature of these plugs, though, is if you push that retaining pin in, and turn the key this way, you have this window cut out in the cylinder wall. So you can rekey the key pins without having to fully 100% gut the lock. It's kind of a neat feature of these 83s. Okay, so I'm going to lock it back up. I'm going to turn it just a few degrees. I'm going to press that retaining pin down, push the plug forward a little bit. Key pins are facing upward so I don't dump them. I'm going to grab a follower. And if I had not removed the tail piece, I would have to shim this to prevent the driver pins from dropping into that little gap and messing everything up. But as it is, I can just push it through with a follower because we have a flat surface here. Okay. So let's dump the key pins first, 6 pins. So that's pin 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, you can see that all of the key pins are standard pins. And actually, I'll wait till we have the driver pins out. So next, let's have a go at the driver pins. We'll start at the back of the lock. So we have pin 6 is a spool. And then let's dump the springs so we don't damage any springs. And then we have pin 5. which is a spool. And dump the spring. And then we have pin 4, which is a spool. And dump the spring. Let's go to the other side and get pin 1. And dump the spring. So there's nothing special about the springs. Pin 1, however, that's a serrated pin. That is not a spool. So we'll show you a close-up view once we get everything out of here. Pin 2. Dump the spring. And then pin 3, which is also a spool. And dump that spring. Okay, so you can see that the pins are all, we have a serrated pin in position 1, and then the rest are all spool pins, which was the counter rotation on each one. We can see some relatively tough bitting in terms of highs and lows, especially the really high lifts in back on 5 and 6, and the high lift in front with pin 1. And then I don't know if you can tell, but the mouth of all of these chambers are just a little bit worn. They're just a little bit rounded. They're not quite the sharp edges that a new, right? The pick just slides right through. They're just a little bit worn and rounded. You can see that they're actually a little bit, in the light, they're a little bit shiny where the wear has happened. And you can see that they're a little bit stretched, is that the right word? Malformed? Whatever. Like 5 here especially looks like it's been elongated on this side, which makes sense because that's the direction you're turning the key. So that's the side that is going to get the most wear. You can see the wear marks of the pins dragging across the body of the plug. So you can see that that can be a challenge. Now here's the reason why I had to go back and keep touching 6 to get the deep false set back. 6 is the highest lift. So if I put that back into place and I back the key out, if I put 6 in, and then I put the driver pin in on top of it, you can see that it is sitting, the top flange of the barrel pin is sitting below the shear line. And so when I go in with the pick, and I would go in and I would touch it, assuming I can get back there. In order to get the full set, I'd have to get that top flange just past the shear line in order for it to catch and give us that full set. And then every little tiny core movement, and with the worn mouth and with the key pin, with the driver pin, and you can kind of see the wear a little bit better. And you can also see how the pin itself is kind of rounded off there. It's not a flat surface. So every time the core would turn back a little bit when we're riding the counter rotation, that driver pin just would drop right back into the keyway every single time. So I had to go back and keep just touching it a little bit in order to get that deep false set. So anyhow, you can see that the wear and tear on the lock is causing it to behave a little bit differently. I don't know if you can see on the serrated pin, they're not very deep serrations to begin with, but because of the wear on the pin, and here again you can see that the ends of the pins have been kind of rounded off from use. So it's not, which is another reason for the thunk rather than the solid click as it passes shear. But you can see that the wear and tear on both the pins and on the plug, the pin chambers in the plug, and I'm assuming the pin chambers in the Bible also are also experiencing some of that wear. You can see how the wear makes it a more challenging picking experience than, say, a brand new lock that's going to give you more solid clicks, click, click type of feedback because of the sharp edges along the chamber holes and the sharp edges on the pins themselves. So anyhow, I hope that this was useful and that you've learned a little bit about the 8345 and that you've learned a little bit about how age and use can affect your picking experience.
Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, remember to drop a like and leave a comment or a question below. If you're new here, subscribe and ring the notification bell for more content like this. Until the next video, happy picking y'all.